It's time for the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast with Michael Beller and Jake Seeley and Brandon Funston. What's up, everyone? Week 9 kicking off tonight. Colts and Jets get things going for us, and then we roll into a weekend that's got 13 more games beyond it. Brandon Funston, Jake Seeley. Jake Seeley's taking a phone call right now, which is pretty awesome. So, Funston, how you doing? What's up, man?
Well, I'm just now seeing your demeanor, realizing what a 2-hour time difference can do to you at this time of the day. Your disposition is a lot more cheery than mine is, but I hope to get there. I hope to emulate what you got going on right now. I like your energy.
Hey, man, you know, they always say that 10 a.m. is really the golden hour of the morning when you're just feeling at your best. You're feeling totally chipper. You're feeling good. You're feeling excited. And week 9, you know, right here, it starts in 9 hours. We'll have kickoff between the Colts and the Jets. Jake, all good? Everything all good over there?
Yeah, so a 25-minute alert for when the pickup company is coming, of course. 8 to 11 and 11:30, that's going to put them out.
Man,
that's only if they're on time with their latest projection. So if they continue with their trend, you might be able to get this in time.
Where I'm pointing, I'm trying to it's hard to point backwards. You can see the edge of the mattress, so you'll actually probably be able to see these people come by.
Oh, that's going to be great. I can't wait. We're counting down 25 minutes from now. I'm excited. It gives us one of those, you know, it's like a little bit of a cliffhanger.
Actually, 25 minutes to see if they're actually on time of what they said for 25 minutes. So that's the second test. They're already late. Now we see if they're late again for the 25 minutes.
Jake, you know how projections work. You get it.
That is true. That is true.
You get it. You get it. All right, guys, week 9. Let's jump in. Let's do this. We're going to go through like we did last week, game by game. But instead of last week where I had everything chronological, sort of mix things up, try to get some of the more interesting things pushed toward the top of the show. And when we say week 9 and we say interesting, I don't think there's any place we can start, you guys, other than Jordan Love getting his moment, getting to start for the Green Bay Packers. Jake, let's just take this all in. What are we doing with Jordan Love? What are we doing? What are we thinking about this Packers offense in this game against the Chiefs? Take it away. What do you got?
It comes down to there was only 2 people that we really wanted to start it in general. It's Aaron Jones and Devonte Adams. You know, we're considering if Marquez Valdez-Scantling was back. Maybe he gets into the mix. Maybe if not, and Allen Lazard's back, it's Allen Lazard. Maybe A.J. Dillon if you're desperate at running back. But basically now it's just try not to. Maybe, again, still A.J. Dillon again if you're needed at running back and they maybe run the ball a little bit more. We don't know a lot. We have to be honest. We don't know a lot about Jordan Love. We've seen majority of Jordan Love preseason. And that's a very different ball game, almost literally, than the regular season. But what we do know about Devonte Adams is with no Aaron Rodgers, he's been wide receiver 10, 11, 12 in that range. Low-end wide receiver 1. He has a 2-touchdown game on his resume without Aaron Rodgers. And he's got some 40-yard games, so there's some floor. So I moved Devonte Adams. I mean, the projections help, but I thought he was going to go down further than he ended up. He finished at 8 for me, just in front of Deontay, CeeDee Lamb, DJ Moore. I mean, DJ Moore might be dealing with PJ Walker, and then Marquise Brown, who I'm higher on than most people this week, and then Hopkins, who's injury, and Keenan Allen. So, like, the point is you're starting Adams no matter what, so don't go crazy. And I saw some people say, well, what if Aaron Rodgers gets suspended? Do I trade Devontae? Like, you can't trade Devontae Adams now because everybody's going to have that in the back of their mind, so you can't get away from it. So start Adams, start Aaron Jones, hope for the best. I think Jordan Love is in the same conversation of do you want to shoot for the ceiling and play him over a safe Teddy Bridgewater? Fine, but you have to know it could potentially be like Justin Fields' first couple games. Like that's the floor. You're looking at a very potential 2-3 point game.
I got to tell you, though, it's weird. I have him ranked, Jordan Love, like quarterback 23, which puts him in play in like super flex leagues.
I have him at 16.
It's just
because the rushing.
Well, it's rushing, and it's a really terrible week for kind of the more traditional quarterbacks. You know, like I just was like, there's a lot of bad matchups. There's just been a lot of
Tannehill against the Rams.
Yeah, there's been a lot of bad kind of like domino effect things that kind of hurt the quarterback position. And, so the rushing upside actually is, you know, enough to move him into that QB2 conversation.
It's going to be very fun to watch this one, and maybe it won't be the last one. We know that the earliest Aaron Rodgers can be back is next Saturday, which would put them just 24 hours away from their Week 10 game. So we could be getting at least a couple of Jordan Love starts in our future here. So this will be certainly a fun one to watch. On the other side of the game, Darrell Williams, Derek Gore, the 2 running backs we're expecting again for the Chiefs. I mean, we know Darrell Williams is Darrell Williams. Is there any argument, you guys? Funston, I guess you take this first for Jake, you take it. You got a big side there. any argument for Derek Gore at all? I mean, I think the answer is no, but I still want us to talk about it.
It's perception clouds people's minds all the time. Derek Good looked good on one drive, and everybody's like, he looked better than Darrell Williams. No, he didn't. Go watch the game again. Darrell Williams, especially in the second half, looked like Darrell Williams. And actually, if you want to even go down and parse down to the metrics, better after contact. Darrell Williams better on the game, had vastly more snaps. There's speculation. I included the speculation to say, you know what? He took a big shot on that pass play. And you kind of hit his shoulder. Like, maybe they were just checking him out on the sideline, and then Gore comes in. It's like, oh, Gore's looking good in this drive. Let's not mess with it. Let's let him finish this drive. And again, Gore looked good, but the perception is he looked better. He didn't. He was as good as Darrell Williams. Darrell Williams is still the lead, still vastly outsnapped him and outtouched him the rest of the game after that drive. All this comes into play is saying, if you grab Gore smart, grab Gore because if something happens to Williams before Clyde Edwards-Helaire gets back, that's the real value.
I think as far as like how good he looked, you're slightly underselling him. I think he had at least 2 drives. I mean, it was the first drive that he came in, he looked good, and then the drive when he scored the touchdown, he looked good. But either way, your point's not.
No, I just thought he wasn't better. Like people were saying, he's clearly better than Darrell Williams, and that's where my issue was.
I'll just say if things where he could be playable is if you really believe that things will go terribly south for this Green Bay offense, and it's just. It's just Kansas City way ahead, and there is something.
To steal a question, would you play Gore or AJ Dillon?
1,000% AJ Dillon.
No, I was just curious because you can make that argument on both sides of it here.
Yeah, no, I get it, but I'm definitely in on AJ Dillon, and there's Gore sitting in waiver wire still in a few of my leagues, and I haven't been compelled to add him for the guy, the bottom person in my roster that I'd have to drop.
Yeah, could be seeing CEH back very soon, and then Derek Gore once again
the power
gets
of Christ
relegated back to relegated back to a role that has him totally irrelevant in fantasy leagues. We've got another new starting quarterback this week, you guys, and it is almost certainly, I don't think we've heard it officially, but almost certainly Taysom time in New Orleans. He's still coming back from a concussion, but it does sound like he will get the start for the Saints against the Falcons this week. So, Funston, what does Taysom time mean to you?
QB1, we've seen it for a month. He's a better passer than we thought last year when he was the starter for 4 games. He was, he was as good a runner, but given a lot more of a leash to do it with as a starter. So, yeah, I mean, I have him ranked as a back-end QB1, assuming everything goes, the direction of him starting. And I think the worry for everybody is going to be, what about Alvin Kamara in the passing game? It took 3 games of Hill and Kamara to get going before they actually was able to actually make the pass out there. And he had a 7-catch game in his 4th game with Taysom Hill. And we saw that with Jameis Winston, who's never been great at throwing to running backs either. It took him a little bit of time as well. But I think, it's something that Taysom Hill knows. The screen pass, the dump-off pass wasn't a feather in his cap, and he's worked on it. And I expected they'll be better at that from the jump than they were last year.
Yeah, to be honest, it's like we're expecting Taysom Hill. I have him in my rankings expecting Taysom Hill to start. I have Taysom Hill as a top 10 quarterback because he's going to run. He's Jalen Hurts with a little bit less in the passing game yardage wise, but the touchdowns might be the same. He had 2 games where he threw for 2 touchdowns. He also had 2 games where he ran for 2 touchdowns. So I think he runs a little less, but he runs for more touchdowns than Hurts does. Throws a little bit less, but has more accuracy. He might throw it. So it offsets. I play Hurts over Hill to say all that, to say Hill's in play as a top 10 quarterback for me if he is definitively the starter. Everything that Funston said, I agree with. The bigger concern is Alvin Kamara. Still top 5 running back this week, where he probably could have been 1, 2, or 3, especially with what Winston was doing for the 2 games before this happened, that he's finally starting to throw to him consistently again. It just knocks him down a little bit. But we weren't that interested in Traquan Smith and Marquez Callaway anyway. So I think the honest thing here is just that Taysom Hill, if you needed a quarterback, to go back to Funston's point earlier at the very top of the show, if you were concerned about Tannehill or look at who else is down. I mentioned Bridgewater, Matt Ryan against the Saints. I would just go Taysom Hill.
Hey, on the other, are we messing around with anyone in Atlanta, right? I mean, Kyle Pitts is locked in, Cordell Patterson's locked in. Are we messing around with anyone else on this offense?
No.
Tajay Sharp's the one that stepped in for Ridley.
Yeah.
Gage's role didn't change. Zacchaeus is basically the backup to Gage in that he plays that kind of similar role. So it's really Tajay Sharp. And do you want to start Tajay Sharp? You have to be in a 14-16 team league. maybe the question here is, and I've seen a lot of people ask this, is maybe Mike Davis gets a little more groundwork because they don't have a lot of options and he comes back to RB3 relevance. But man, this is just how far he's fallen.
Yeah, like that is just. I've got Mike Davis, and there's just like, I don't want to buy into that. I don't want to. I don't want to even. I don't even want to have to think about it.
What if Patterson gets hurt?
Oh, for sure. I'm not dropping him at all. Dropping him has never entered my mind once, but I also don't want to have to like be burdened with thinking about potentially starting.
Well, not once, but there's a lot of 10-teamers out there where I've seen it's like Mike Davis is the one to drop. Like people are like, I need to drop Tony Pollard, Mike Davis, or like, and I'm like, you know what? I'd rather hold Tony Pollard if something happened to Zeke than Mike Davis.
It's totally fair. I totally get him. I'm not in the league like that, but I understand why he is on the chopping block for a lot of people in the fantasy world. Like I said, I just don't want to be burdened with having to think about the possibility of him being in my starting lineup. I'd rather just move on from it. So we're going to move on from it right here and talk about a backfield that is in transition. Titans and Rams, Sunday night football. Rams are 7.5-point favorites in this game. 53.5 is the over-under, and we've got a new look in the Tennessee backfield. Jake, what are you doing with Jeremy McNichols? What are you doing with Adrian Peterson?
Long term, I'm doing Adrian Peterson. It's just because he's stepping into the role that he was last year with the Lions, and it's almost, I pulled this out and put it in the waiver column. Funston saw it. It's the workload, touches, snaps, volume, yards per touch, even after contact, all very similar to Derrick Henry. Now, I'm not putting Adrian Peterson in the same conversation as Derrick Henry at this point of his career.
2012.
Right. But the conversation is that, like, that's the role. He's going to fill that role. He was never a big pass catcher anyway, even at the peak of his career. So, on the Titans, on a better team, similar touchdown upside to what would be seen in a lot of situations like his, where if you're saying, Elijah Mitchell, who barely ever used and not used it. What's the difference between Adrian Peterson and Elijah Mitchell? That being said, this week, in this matchup is where I would lean McNichols. It's going to be very matchup dependent. I'm going to have both as fringe RB2, 3 type options, and it's going to be matchup dependent. So when you face somebody like the Rams this week, McNichols. If they're in a team like they're facing the Texans or the Jaguars or stuff like that, then I would go AP and go for that touchdown upside. Almost similar to the conversation, and I don't want to jump ahead. We're going to get to that game, but the one that Brandon's brought up a lot of times about the Arizona backfield.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is a McNichols game, because he's been there and Adrian Peterson's trying to get assimilated as quickly as he can, so you actually get a few carries out of McNichols, but also because he's been the third down back, and if you look at it, the Rams are susceptible to that, and that's kind of where you could see them living is in a lot of passing down situations. So I think McNichols is, for this week in particular, the clear advantage, but I agree with Jake going forward for the long term.
All right, we got 30 seconds for this, and this can be a pass. I'm going to cut you off, though, if you take it. 30 seconds. Would either of you care to make a case for Van Jefferson?
Sure. I'll
Go.
give you 10 seconds. It's Desean Jackson with the Buccaneers. You hope that he gets 3 for 80 and a touchdown, but be ready for 1 for 13 and nothing.
Yeah. All right.
And there's no more Desean Jackson.
And there's no more Desean Jackson to worry about taking.
Yeah,
that.
he wasn't a factor anyway.
He's a factor in a game or two. A little bit.
One game.
A little bit. All right. Well, guess what? 30 seconds right there. Let's move on to our next game. Thursday night football. So we'll give you the disclaimer. If you're listening to this after Thursday night, go ahead, skip ahead 2.5, 3 minutes or so. But let's talk about the Jets and the Colts. How excited, guys, are we about the Michaels in this game? Michael Carter, Michael Pittman. I mean, we know they're both locked in as starters, but Funston. I mean, these guys are. I mean, it feels like the sky's the limit for these two guys the rest of the season.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've said this the last couple of weeks. I've just had a real kind of sea change in my evaluation of Michael Pittman. I've kind of just see him in completely different light now as a true alpha. He looks like it. Carson Wentz looks like he has just extreme confidence in throwing him the ball, and he's been making play after play. He's been a volume guy. He's been a big play guy. He's been really doing it all. T.Y. Hilton can't stay healthy, so. Yeah, the only issue here is teams just run on the Jets, and this might not necessarily be a smash game for Pittman because, you get a lead and you just salt away the lead, and they got the kind of team to do it. So on the flip side, Michael Carter is getting run as the leading ball carrier, but God, as Jake always talked about early in the year, like he can do Austin Eckler things. it's on film. He's a great receiver, and now it's playing out, and he's just getting a ton of volume in the passing game. So high on both of them. Michael Carter's in my mid-teens at running back. It's the highest he's been by a long shot all season long.
Jake, I'm going to come to you for the next thing because you guys both really love Jamison Crowder this week. Let's hear the bullish Jamison Crowder case, Jake.
There's not really much else to it than what I keep saying every single week is, if healthy, Jamison Crowder's a wide receiver 3 or better. That's really what it all comes down to. It's just we've never been able to count on him staying healthy, but every time he's out there, similar to, I don't know, I checked, I didn't see if his name was in there. Devontae Parker, same thing. Devontae Parker, Jamison Crowder, on the field. They're at least wide receiver 3s. A lot of times they could go wide receiver 2 for the matchup. I have Parker as a wide receiver 2 this week. Jamison Crowder's a mid wide receiver 3, and just because they need him, they're going to pass to him. And especially with North, I would even like him as a fringe wide receiver 3, even if Corey Davis was out there.
Yeah, but no Corey Davis. So at least, Corey Davis is
yeah.
listed as doubtful. So we're assuming for sure no Corey Davis.
No Corey
and maybe
Davis.
that leads us to a surprise starter in this game. Michael Pittman, Michael Carter, Jonathan Taylor, Jamison Crowder, pretty non-controversial starters. Funston,
Yes.
Is there a case to be made for anyone else in this game?
Well, I've been making it. I've been getting it wrong. First, I said Ramondre Stevenson a couple weeks ago because the second running back against the Jets always pays off until it doesn't, and that was last week with Samaje Perine. But there's always a
Marlon
second.
Mack?
Yeah. No, Naheem Hines. I think is play. Honestly, I think Ty Johnson and Naheem Hines as the second running backs on each side are both playable.
No.
Jake?
Zach Pascal of ODU. Time to get back on the board with Pascal.
I wasn't going to take an ODU guy from you. Come on, man.
I know. I have like 4 guys, and one of them's on
that would
defense.
still get covered.
And one of them is probably not starting for much longer. Well, it depends on when Fitzpatrick's coming back. But really what it comes down to is no T.Y. Hilton. Pascal, even before T.Y. Hilton, was kind of getting phased out a little bit. But it was an opportunity. Red zone and end zone, he continues to be an option at times. And this is one to get back on the board. Again, this is similar to go to Brandon's guy again. And so much. We might as well just jump to this game next. Mike, sorry to do this, but it's the James Conner. I'm banking on a touchdown because if he doesn't score a touchdown, Zach Pascal's not usable.
All right, we can't jump to that. It wasn't literally next, listeners, in the show sheet.
It wasn't.
I am gonna jump to it.
I've only mentioned James Conner like 7 times.
Yeah, so I'll jump down to it. We'll come back to Eagles and Chargers after our first break, but we can talk about Cardinals and 49ers. The thing that jumped out at me most about Cardinals and 49ers is that the total's 45 on this game on BetMGM, and that just, I'm not saying this should be 53.5 or something like that, but 45 surprised me. Does it give you any sort of pause, Jake, that the total is just at 45?
I think they're hedging on Hopkins is banged up. Kyler Murray didn't practice on Wednesday. There's a lot of things going on. AJ Green now in the COVID protocol, and even if he is vaccinated, I don't think, have we had somebody that's got the double negative on a Wednesday and then got double negative by the time? So, I don't think he's actually, even with the vaccination,
I
don't think
remember
anybody's
off the top of my head.
Yeah, I don't think that's happened. So I was saying, I wouldn't be surprised if AJ Green can get cleared. It's just I don't think anybody's been cleared, even being vaccinated. So I still have to say is no AJ Green, not that Rondell Moore and Christian Kirk can't fill the void. But there's a lot going on the Arizona side, and I think that's really what it comes down to. It's not even the San Francisco side of things. It's just that there's a lot on Arizona's side of it. And Arizona's defense is getting some respect in this line too. So that's being said is, I'll tell you, I'm not trying to be like, I disagree with you or I think you're stupid at all. You're the one that does the bet show. And by the way, 11-1, what was it, 2 weeks ago? So I'm not saying you're crazy, but it's funny that you said the 45 because my initial reaction was, is he going to say it's too high or too low? Like that, I'm actually coming on the side of I think this is kind of reasonable for this game.
Yeah, what did Chicago and San Francisco put up 48 last week?
55, I want it. It was
Yeah.
like 33-22 was the final score.
Like a 24-23
He went Ohio State
game
on them, that's
or something.
why.
Like that's completely reasonable. So, yeah, George Kittle back too, right?
Do we know that for
Maybe.
sure?
We're
I
know. We're still
feeling like
expecting
it's
it.
trending in the right direction, yeah.
Yeah, that's a maybe. Is there a case to be made for Brandon Ayuk in this game?
Not yet. Need to see it first.
No, I equate it to Billy Crystal in The Princess Bride. We now know that he's not completely dead; he's just mostly dead, which means he's slightly alive, which means there's a chance, but that's all there is. Like, there's still we still need him to get feelings in all of his extremities and start moving around again a little bit more.
Gonna need Fezzik to be
That's right.
dragging him along up
That's
the
right.
field.
That could be
Who's
George
the-
Kittle.
Yeah, right. I was going to say George Kittle has to be the 49ers Fezzik if they have one. I mean, that's just.
Why are you going to call me with a 25-minute and then a 15-minute update on top of it? Like, seriously?
Oh, 15 minutes. So they're pushing you back a little bit. They're pushing you back just a little bit here. Just like, you sort of deserve it, Jake, because you pushed back Chargers and Eagles in the
No, I'm not big time, Brandon. This is a donation to Salvation Army for a match. This is not big time.
Not big time at all. We got, Jake's a great guy, obviously, just doing the people's work. Let's get into this here. Making content an essential part of what we do to keep this show going, but hasn't always been a seamless process. We've had some fails along the way, and Canva Pro can help any creators cut down on those fails. Canva Pro, a design platform that empowers you to create and share stunning content in just a few clicks. Designing with Canva Pro, it's amazingly fast and fun. You can choose from thousands of templates that are easy to customize or start from scratch. Canva Pro has endless premium fonts, photos, videos, and so much more that add personality and edge to whatever you're designing. It also makes designing together very simple. Whether you share, edit, comment in real time, whatever you do together when you're designing these things, Canva Pro makes it really easy. And you and 4 teammates can get together on Canva Pro for just $12.99 a month. Design like a pro with Canva Pro. Right now, you can get a free 45-day extended trial when you use our promo code. Just go to canva.me/fantasy to get your free 45-day extended trial. That's canva.me/fantasy, canva.me/fantasy. If you've ever wanted to make your home feel safer, there is no better time than right now, because this week our friends at Simply Safe are giving Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast listeners 40% off their award-winning home security service. Simply Safe has everything you need to make your home safe: indoor and outdoor cameras, comprehensive sensors, and they're all monitored around the clock by trained professionals who send help the instant that you need it. Simply Safe was named the best home security system of 2021 by U.S. News and World Report. You can easily customize a system for your home online in just minutes and get free custom recommendations from Simply Safe as well. These are Simply Safe's biggest discounts of the year. You can get a complete home security system starting at just more than $100. Take advantage of Simply Safe's holiday sale and get 40% off your new home security system by visiting simplysafe.com/fantasy. Again, that is simplysafe.com/fantasy for 40% off your entire system. Be sure to hurry, because these deals end soon. All right, guys, we're going to get to that Chargers and Eagles game I want to talk about in just a second. But, Jake, we've got a question here that's right up your alley from Brandon. Needs to pick up a kicker this week.
Good luck with that.
But especially for you.
I wouldn't ask you that question, Jake.
We'll let you ruminate on it. Well, I know you've got a lot of kickers in your brain to sift through, so we'll let you think about that one for a little bit. Let's jump into Eagles and Chargers. Brandon, we saw Boston Scott last week. We saw Jordan Howard last week. How are we feeling about those two guys going into this game? And then, Jake, you take the Devonte Smith question, because it's been an inconsistent back and forth for Devonte Smith this week or this season.
Yeah, I think, what the problem with the Eagles is they couldn't get to volume in the running game all season long. It's because they haven't had a situation like the Lions where they just get out in front of a team and just, can do that. So I think in a kind of back to normalcy world of what the Eagles have been living in, Boston Scott certainly is a guy that I would feel okay about this week. Not Jordan Howard, because I don't think the setup's going to be as nice for him. But Boston Scott can be a guy, and I always say this, and Jake says it too. It's like you can put Boston Scott out there, and you don't tip your hand as to what you're doing. Boston Scott can handle receiving down work. He'll likely be the main guy in the running game, and for that reason, I would be okay playing him in a flex play. I wouldn't touch Kenneth Gainwell. I wouldn't touch Jordan Howard.
Yeah, Jordan Howard, Jeff brought this up yesterday to me and said that he got put back on the practice squad and hasn't even been called back up yet. So we're still like, I would assume they might just do the same and Jordan Howard's out there again. But, yeah. That would kind of tell you that this Boston Scott, maybe you get some Gainwell back. But, no, to Devonte Smith, I said Desean Jackson's earlier name in the show, and I said, he's been Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Devonte Smith has been that. That's the version he's been, because he's had 4 games under 5 points. 4 more games of terrible play than even double-digit scores. He hasn't even hit 20 yet this year. So I know, and I wanted Devonte Smith to be a thing. I said Devonte Smith was walking to 100-plus targets. Just give him to me as a wide receiver 3 this year. He's not even that right now. And this is a bad matchup for him. Very bad matchup. It's actually a bad matchup for both sides of the ball in the passing game. So you expect some running, and if you're going to win this game, that's what you're looking for here. So I guess you just continue to roll. He's a wide receiver 3, but I would say he's as risky as Van Jefferson right now.
Yeah.
Tight ends are the only bankable things in the passing game. It's been that way all season long, and especially now that Zach Ertz is out of the way and they're not splitting it.
And for what it's worth, we had Zach Berman, who covers the Eagles for The Athletic, on the show on Tuesday and talked to him about the inconsistent nature of Devonte Smith's season. And he said he does expect the volume to sort of get forced in Smith's direction the rest of the season. Now, that doesn't necessarily equate to production, but it would be something that his fantasy managers certainly would welcome. But definitely, there's a lot of risk tied up in him this week, certainly against the Chargers. What is a tough matchup? We know this is a team that you can beat on the ground, a lot tougher to beat through the air. Mike Williams, Funston, your guy, has had a couple of down weeks here. We do have seen Keenan Allen sort of push his way back to the top of this depth chart. Austin Eckler always going to have a major role. Is there a buy case to be made for Mike Williams right now? I mean, the thing I worry about with Mike Williams as a wanting to trade for him is that window can slam shut. The buy window can slam shut any given week because he could easily go out and put up 8 for 120 and 2 this week, and then that's it.
Yeah, we're all kind of clinging to the hope that the downturn has been, mostly a combination of Mike Williams maybe not being healthy, and also Justin Herbert, not being great. And they could actually be related. It could be that if you look that Justin Herbert's best games are when Mike Williams is the true Michael Thomas that they talked about that role being, and we saw that play out. And then when Mike Williams got hurt, we've suddenly seen things get a little bit rocky. So the buy case is if we feel like if Mike Williams isn't healthy, then it's going to be okay in the long run. But also the Chargers, it can't be lost on them that their best games have been when Mike Williams has been the stud that he was, and just trying to get, efforting to get him back into that position. So I think we're all on board with, if Mike Williams is healthy, that the Chargers are going to try to get back to what they've been doing with him.
This has got all the makings of a big rebound for Justin Herbert, too, right? You have the tough game against the Ravens, then they go into a bye. Tough game against the Patriots. I mean, we were expecting a little bit better of a game from him, but we all know what that defense is. We all know what Bill Belichick is, and they gave him trouble last year. This just has the feeling of a big, big bounce-back game for Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense. So I would say if you have the idea in mind of trying to make a trade for Mike Williams, this might be the time to do it at something less than dollar for dollar value, because I wouldn't be surprised to see a big game for really all the principals in the Chargers offense in this one. Let's move on to the next game I want to talk about here, Funston. It is Cowboys and Broncos, where we find the Cowboys as big favorites in this game. And I'm wondering what we think about Denver's offense in a chase game, because that could end up coming to fruition. The Cowboys are 10-point favorites. Dak Prescott expected to be back for them this week. We've been talking about Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams as, low-end RB2s both week in and week out. And we've basically seen that play true every single week. But now we could see them in a chase game, which maybe changes things. Jerry Judy back for the first time in a potential chase game. That did not happen last week. So just how do we shape up Denver's offense as double-digit underdogs going into this game in a position we just haven't seen them in a while?
Yeah, I'm wondering if that does play out as a narrative, that it's a Jerry Judy game for him. He got his feet wet last week, but so much was made about how the chemistry between Teddy Bridgewater and Jerry Judy was just very apparent, and we saw it early in the season before he was gone. And I just think as a chain mover, as someone in a high volume situation in the passing game, Jerry Judy might be the one who really is a winner of that. I think it's hard to look at the two running backs and know, because Melvin Gordon, I think, has 18 catches and Javonte Williams has 22, and they split everything almost 50-50. So, but in terms of running backs, we always say we would prefer a reception over a carry, like any time. So if that just means more volume in the passing game for the running backs, that's better for them in general.
And neither of them is going to get squeezed out. We talked about this last week where, Melvin Gordon had the 2 touchdowns a week ago, but it was 10 carries and 3 targets for him and 9 carries and 4 targets for Javonte Williams. It really is like the purest 50-50 in every way imaginable backfield. Jake, you're going to jump back in on Tony Pollard. We just talked about Denver's offense playing in potentially a
RB1
chase game with the Broncos being 10-point underdogs. What about Tony Pollard in that same sort of game, but from the opposite side? Big-time positive script potentially. Does that make him someone who, not a slam dunk starter, but do you like him more this week than other weeks?
What more? He's the number one running back in all football. Like how can I like him more than that? He's in the same conversation.
Those Tony Pollard stands have really burned you this season, haven't they?
Hasn't it? Really, what it comes down to, he's still in that AJ Dillon conversation of like those backups that get consistent touches every single week. Honestly, he's there with Javonte Williams, though. It's kind of you get consistent work. I don't know if you saw this. I was trying to listen at the same time, but Michael Gallup twisted his ankle at practice, so now it's not even.
Serious?
He might not even be. Yeah. So, but I bring that up to say like this is feel better about Schultz and obviously Cooper, but also they're going to continue to run a little bit more. But in this game, I actually expect both teams to run more than usual. Mostly because this is the game script of Dak's on 100%, and then if Denver wants to try and win this game, you play clock control, if I could speak. I'm looking because they're trying to come. I think they're trying to come back in. That's why. So yes, Tony Pollard, high end RB3. So as I trip up over here.
That's great. No matter how much talking you do in a given week, you're always susceptible to the little bit of a stumble. It's just life. That's just how things work. Ravens and Vikings, you guys. Next game on the board. Ravens 6-point favorites. This one started at 5.5. Now we see the Ravens favored by 6. And Funston, I want you to do something for me, please. Fill in the blanks around Kirk Cousins. And what I mean by that is, Kirk Cousins is always a guy who feels like we could always start him. Maybe you don't always want to start him. He can have some duds like he had a week ago. Like, what are the quarterbacks who you're starting in front of him? What are the quarterbacks who are right behind him? The blanks. I feel like he's the guy who most every single week we need to know like who you have in front of him and who you have behind him to gauge just where he is for us in the fantasy world.
Yeah, so I have Justin Herbert and Derek Carr right in front of him. I have Kirk Cousins at number 11, and then I have Taysom Hill and Tua behind him. And, part of the Taysom Hill thing, I'd probably, if I had that to decide between, as long as I'm slam dunk knowing that Taysom Hill is playing the true lead role and not some kind of half and half or sub package role, then I'm probably going to play him over Cousins. It's not a great matchup. You can throw on him to the tight ends and to the running backs. They've been tough against wide receivers, but the Vikings have two guys that, are almost matchup independent for the most part. But you still worry about there being a little bit lower ceiling with those two. I just, we talk about Kirk Cousins all the time. He's one of the most truly consistent quarterbacks that we've seen in the last, half decade.
Yeah. It's totally true. Really sorry. I was a little distracted there. Oh, Jake's still gone. A little distracted there because Corey posting here on our chat that it was CeeDee Lamb who twisted his ankle. And so I was just searching for our Cowboys beat writer, John Machota, on Twitter. And indeed, it was CeeDee Lamb yesterday who twisted his ankle, which is much worse news. Much worse news. No offense. Michael Gallup. No, if you're listening to this, Michael, no offense. We love you. We want you back. We want to see this full-fledged Cowboys offense. But this is much worse news. Hopefully this is not something that compromises CeeDee come Sunday, because we definitely want to see you. So thanks for the heads up, Corey. See, Jake, it was CeeDee Lamb. It's CeeDee Lamb who twisted his ankle.
I saw the tweet while I'm going right back to
I just pulled it up. John Machota, Cowboys beat writer for The Athletic.
I know.
CeeDee Lamb twisted his ankle.
But the one that I said is like in his return to practice. So maybe whoever reported it incorrectly reported, because I would have said CeeDee Lamb's not returning.
Maybe they both twisted their ankles.
Maybe they did,
it's Amari Cooper all the time now.
Yeah, there's
no. I'm gonna go back.
It's not a mutually exclusive thing. Multiple guys can twist their ankle on the same
No, sure, but I'm saying whoever reported it and then retweeted it might have misreported it, because like I specifically read it because it said return to practice Michael Gallup. So yeah, CeeDee Lamb would definitely be worse.
Yeah, much worse. Does anyone care about Baltimore's backfield in this game against Minnesota? Do we care about it at all? Let's say a world where Latavius Murray is back, which I know is unlikely, but do we care at all about this backfield?
No.
I mean, I did pick up a Latavius Murray that got dropped this week. I did grab him, so I have him as bench fodder now, and hopefully I don't sink so low to have to play him.
Would either of you guys care to make a case for Rashad Bateman in this game?
Sure.
Wide receiver 4.
Yeah, he's getting enough volume. He's a talented enough
Christian
player.
Kirk,
it's a good
same range.
Matchup.
Let Funston get 5 more words out and then throw something else in there, Jake.
Matchup plus, talent plus, volume plus. There you go. Wide receiver 4.
Yeah, wide receiver. All adds up to a wide receiver 4. It'll be interesting to see. So he had the 2 games, right? And now they're coming out of their bye. So he had the 2 games after injury. Then they go into their bye. Now they're coming out of their bye. I'm interested to see what his workload looks like this week. Here's a question. Corey again.
Bateman.
Corey, thank you for the CD Lamb thing. We'll let you get a question in here. Rashad Bateman or Darnell Mooney?
Bateman.
That's a coin flip for me. Bateman's safer. Mooney higher ceiling.
All right, there we go. Bateman safer, Mooney higher ceiling. Let's move on to the clash of Ohio. Browns and Bengals. What do we think of Jarvis Lantry with OBJ persona non grata in Cleveland? Now, what do you got on this one, Funston?
The eye test hurt last week watching Jarvis Landry. It's as bad as I've ever seen him play. I have to think he's not still quite all the way 100%. But, more often than not, I'm willing to give him a pass and say that, when they do throw, they don't throw the wide receivers a lot, and they don't throw a lot. But when they do throw, he's probably going to be the guy that's going, in a game like this, especially if Cincinnati puts up points, could be a 10-target guy. Could be.
This is another super low over/under.
It's kind of like a Jamison Crowder, except for, we don't probably not get the same volume you get with the Jets and Mike White, but kind of the same role where when OBJ is out, and even with OBJ is there, he's still kind of the lead guy. It's a low ceiling situation.
A little higher than I thought, 46.5 the total on this one from BetMGM. Jake, Jarvis Lantry, is he an easy start for you?
It's the Jamison Crowder situation. When he's out there and he's healthy, he's the number one, and the fact the healthy side of it. But he's also the number one. And Odell Beckham wasn't a factor. Period. Jarvis Landry's a wide receiver 3 when he's out there, and that's simple.
All right, Jake. I always love reading your column for a number of reasons. Number one, you and I were talking about this before the show, but just give the wire another chance. I'm not going to harangue you. TV shows are
go there.
TV shows are totally personal preference. No one should tell you're an idiot, you're whatever, but just give the wire, just give it another chance. That's all I ask. Just give it another chance. And if you don't like it the second time,
it's February. People, there's plenty of reason to
football
people
season
are like,
over.
Try the leftovers, try this, whatever.
No.
1 out of 10 where you're
try the
wire
first.
Type stuff.
Try the wire. Yeah, try the wire first. Trust me. And if you don't like it the second time,
and
then,
he's no Sopranos either. But you know,
but he hasn't seen it, so it's just how
again. I didn't watch any HBO until I got HBO Max. I can't watch every damn show in existence.
It's totally true. Just put the wire first on your list. If you don't like it the second time, so be it. Also, I was reading through your buys and sells, and I noticed a lot of Bengals. So what's the sell the Bengals case?
Ridiculous schedule the rest of the way. One of the toughest in the league, especially on the passing side of things. And, this is the Joe Burrow show. We were on it because we all expected him to be passing a ton. Then we were still on it because he turned into Ryan Tannehill and remarkably efficient. However, if you look at the schedule, and it starts this week with the Cleveland Browns, he's going to have to still keep throwing 2 or 3 touchdowns on 30 attempts. And there's just a little hesitation. I'm not saying get the hell off and sell Joe Burrow for Ryan Tannehill. That does nothing for me. I'd probably even still prefer Joe Burrow. I'm just saying if you can improve somewhere, Jamar Chase, if you can get top 5 wide receiver value for Jamar Chase and you can turn him into DJ Moore and Elijah Mitchell, that's the type of stuff you should be looking for. T. Higgins, you can turn into a top 20, 25 wide receiver return value. So it's just to say, get out before it gets bad, because remember Mike Williams 3 weeks ago was returning top 5 wide receiver value. And it's not that we hate Mike Williams. We're saying buy low now, but it's like playing the stock market. These things can change.
These things do change. These things absolutely do change. So it's something to take a look at for sure with the perceived value of that Bengals passing game. And we've got a difference of opinion right here in this game. Brandon's up at QB7 for Joe Burrow this week. Jake down at QB13. So, Jake, you take this first. You talk about the long term, but does it start right here this week, this schedule against the Browns?
It really does, because if you're looking at, 240, 250, you hope he gets 2 touchdowns. And it's just really who's in front of him. Kirk Cousins gets the Ravens, who continue to be destroyed in the passing game. When you have Justin Jefferson and obviously Adam Thielen. And also I love some Tyler Conklin this week. Derek Carr against the Giants. Taysom Hill, who I have at 10, as I mentioned, against Atlanta. And then up from there, it's Tua against Houston, Kyler Murray against San Francisco, Justin Herbert. So it's really just I wouldn't start Joe Burrow over any of those guys. That's really what it comes down to. I don't hate – he's still fringe QB1. I don't hate Joe Burrow, but I would just start all those guys over Joe Burrow right now.
Joe Burrow. Hate Joe Burrow. What do you got here, Funston? Why still at QB7?
A lot of it has to do with just how bad I think the QB layout is this week. I mean, Kyler Murray has the injury. Is not 100%. Jalen Hurts has been all kinds of up and down. Justin Herbert's been bad the last couple weeks. Joe Burrow, he's had tough matchups. He's thrown 2 or 3 touchdowns in every game. And he's got a full complement of offensive weapons. So, whatever defense can throw at you, there's going to be a weakness in every defense. And right now, they've done a pretty good job of finding it. So for me, I'm just following that consistency with Joe Burrow that, every game he's had at least 2 touchdowns. A lot of them has been 3, and I'll take that consistency this week.
All right, guys, let's move on to our next game. It is the biggest spread on the board of Week 9. It is Jaguars, and it is Buffalo Bills. Jags are 14.5-point dogs at home in this game. I want to start out with Marvin Jones. When I first wrote up the show last night, this was a little bit more of a head-to-head. Then Jake bumped Marvin Jones up his wide receiver rankings a little bit. So now with Brandon at wide receiver 32, with Jake at wide receiver 36, you guys basically feel generally the same about him. But let's just take a good and a bad. So Brandon, make the positive case for Marvin Jones. And then Jake, even though you're not much farther behind Brandon, let's hear the negative case for Marvin Jones in this one.
Yeah, I think the four spot difference is probably me just being in my DNA. I was apparently born to like Marvin Jones. I always have, and he's still, whatever you want to say about Jamal Agnew, I still look at Marvin Jones as the number 1 receiver option, the alpha in this passing game, the guy that's going to have the best chance to get in the end zone. Every week for Jacksonville's a volume game. They're terrible. They're going to be playing from behind. Buffalo's blowing everybody away. They're just going to be throwing. So this is about as high as I can go on Marvin Jones anymore. And I know it's a tough defense, but
there you go.
There's 45 to 50 passes potentially in this game.
And how many of them are catchable? That's really what it comes down to. I don't even like. I honestly look. I don't like putting them at 36. I'm looking behind them, and Tyler Boyd better floor. Jacoby Myers. Can everybody shut the hell up? He's not catching a touchdown. This is not the week. You said this is the week. The last 7 weeks. It doesn't count if you finally get one right. I could say every single week. This is the week Daniel Jones for 4 touchdowns, and then the week that happens. See, I told you. No, it doesn't matter. Stop with Jacoby Myers. But I'm saying all this to say is, Marvin Jones. You want to know the most consistent, best option in this game? It's Jamal Agnew. Can we just stop and realize that Jamal Agnew is the best option? He's their version of Cole Beasley, of Jamison Crowder, of Jarvis Landry. As much as we don't want Jamal Agnew to be a thing, Urban Meyer's forcing him down our throats, and he's the best option because that's also where Buffalo's that they're not really beatable anywhere, but that's where you can take some advantage. Yes, if you get 45 pass attempts, Marvin Jones probably has a respectable day. But again, I have him in the 30s, and I hate the guy. But the better floor right now is honestly Agnew.
Yeah, no rebuttal. I mean, it's just you're right now. If James Robinson's okay, he's the only guy that you're gonna want to play in this game.
I would play Carlos Hyde if James Robinson's out. Urban Meyer would he'll get Devontae Booker's workload.
Dan Arnold's
Dan Arnold.
Yeah, for sure. So
23 targets the last 3 weeks for sure. Someone you want in your lineup if you got him. Really quick on these 2 questions here, you guys. Confidence level, if 1 is no thanks, 3 is, I'll start him, and 5 is totally in my lineup. What's the confidence level on Zach Moss, Jake?
3.5. Just because it's like the touchdown. It's just James Conner. I'm gonna keep going back to this. I don't know how many times I'm gonna mention James Conner. He's James Conner.
The James Conner
you hope for a touchdown.
Fantasy football podcast.
My rankings, I just said that as well. I said he is a touchdown or meh, kind of option. And it's a James Conner touchdown or meh option. And the weird thing, looking it up, he has not had a touch inside the 5-yard line in the last 3 weeks. They've averaged 32 points in the last 3 weeks, and they've had huge blowout games.
Josh Allen.
And he doesn't get more than 14 touches, only one time all year. So, it's hard to say, this narrative is they're going to sit on this lead. They don't lead on the backfield. That's not how Buffalo plays.
All right, well, then how does that play for same exact scale, 1 through 5, Emmanuel Sanders?
I at this point, I think you have to write off last week as an anomaly. Right now with Dawson Knox out, Cole Beasley has become a bigger thing. And then, and we've seen this in the past, Josh Allen kind of, when he goes to Cole Beasley, it tends to kind of compile and just continue to go that way because he just suddenly realizes, I can complete passes to him all day. It's almost like the middle class, version of Cooper Kupp. And it's like, you know what? I think I'm just going to keep throwing to Cole Beasley. And so But Emmanuel Sanders has done enough this year that we can give him a pass for last week.
Jake?
I have Beasley and
it's
Sanders
a complete
back to
pass.
back.
It's very, very much matchup dependent. Here's the issue, though. So you just destroyed Jaguars in general in the passing game, but especially in the slot, which is why Tyler Lockett last year was still playable. Did not expect Tyler Lockett to do that. Let me be clear, to be that level. But that's why it's just you look at all the slot people against them, and that's where you destroy it. Here's the issue. We don't know yet today, being Thursday, but being Wednesday, Cole Beasley didn't practice. So I would love some Emmanuel Sanders because he can do some of those work that Cole Beasley not being there would be involved. But I think that if Beasley is out there, Beasley and Sanders are going to be very close for me. They are very close for me right now in the ranks.
Yeah, we are going to have a couple of injury situations that we're still looking at leading into the weekend for sure. That is just one of them that we've got on our radar. After years of fine print contracts from Big Wireless, we've learned there's often a catch. But with Mint Mobile, there is no catch. Mint Mobile is the first company to sell wireless service online only. By cutting out those retail stores, there's no crazy overhead costs that get passed down to you in the form of mystery fees. Instead, all Mint's passing on is that sweet mint flavored, not really mint flavored, but you get it. All those savings. So sweet savings come right to you. For people looking for extra savings, Mint Mobile offers premium wireless for just $15 a month. All their plans come with unlimited talk and text, plus high-speed data delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can keep your phone number, all your existing contacts. They just get moved right over. And if you're not 100% satisfied, Mint Mobile has you covered with a 7-day money-back guarantee. To get your new wireless plan for just $15 a month and get the plan shipped to your door free, go to mintmobile.com/fantasy. That's mintmobile.com/fantasy. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month with mintmobile.com/fantasy. BetMGM, our betting partners here at The Athletic. Obviously, if you're here, you know there's a little bit of overlap between fantasy and gambling, and you probably think that it's a tiny bit more fun, at least a tiny bit, maybe a really big bit, with some skin in the game, and that's what our partners at BetMGM can help you do. Right now, go over there. You can bet $10 to win $200 on any bet. Any bet. Bet 10 for $200 plus get 3 free months to The Athletic at betmgm.com/TA fantasy. I got to take advantage of this offer from the King of Sportsbooks. Again, that's bet 10 to win 200 plus a free 3-month subscription to The Athletic at betmgm.com/TA fantasy. It's a new customer offer for BetMGM customers. Terms and conditions apply. All right, guys, handful of games I still want to get to, so we're going to have to go rapid fire through those. But let's get to just a couple of questions here from our viewers. We, of course, thank you for joining us, and thank you for sending in questions. T's got one for us. Should I keep OBJ on my roster in case he gets released and then picked up elsewhere?
No, I mean, no.
No.
I didn't.
Where's it go? Saints? Maybe? No.
What? How does OBJ just being plugged into the Saints with Taysom Hill at quarterback just make you? It's just does that give you inspire confidence right out of the gate? No. Like
take the name off the jersey. Why are we still doing Odell Beckham?
Yeah.
This is you know who Odell Beckham is? He's Josh Gordon. Enough.
Oh.
Stop remembering the good times. They haven't been the good times for years. Plural.
Yeah, if you've watched the Browns, Baker Mayfield takes so much crap for Odell Beckham's lack of success, but Odell that a lot of it's on him, like drops and just not making the plays that need to be made. It's not all Baker Mayfield. So I just think he's diminished considerably because of the injuries, because of his age. And we're just painting him with this Giants brush, and we can't let it go.
No.
Good times, bad times.
So, yeah,
He's
if he
definitely
has
had
up
his
the
share.
Saints volume, maybe you can get volume to be, wide receiver 3-4. So, I'm not dropping it. Tongue in cheek
what
aside.
about this? What about Aaron Rodgers comes back and he ends up as a number 2 in Green Bay?
We've been trying to make the number 2 in Green Bay forever. Could you? Is that the most asshole room ever? Odell Beckham, Aaron Rodgers, that would just be that's God. I hope I didn't cover that team and trying to be a beat writer to talk to that room. No, but look, that's what you're kind of hoping for here. So I'm not dropping him just to drop him. Let's be clear. I'm not going to be get the hell off my roster.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of some of the waiver pickups. Brian Edwards and Hunter Renfrow, absolutely goodbye. I want both of those guys over Odell Beckham.
All right, we're going to talk about those guys in just a second here. But one more question. This one coming to us from Trilly Seb. DJ Moore and Fournette for Devonte Adams. Who's winning that trade? What do you got here, Jake?
The kids.
The kids?
I would say the kids win. The kids win. It's because it's
Do
relative.
you make this trade? Do you make
I
this
was
trade
gonna say,
right now?
I need to know more. Like I'm
Yeah.
gonna say the same thing I said yesterday in the tweet. No. Here's the fact. Look, I keep saying this. I'm not trying to be a dick, but this is true. Like, and if I'm coming off of a dick, fine. Look, the fact is, stop giving away top 15 running backs. Stop. That's what I'm saying. Everybody's willing. Like, I look at my trades and people are like, I want to trade Damian Harris for, Stephon Diggs. Okay, on paper, great trade. But the next running back up is A.J. Dillon, who might have to start for you. Like, you cannot do that to your running backs. So I will say for Trill, if Fournette is your RB4, absolutely. Okay, sure. But it's a kind of an overpay for Devontae Adams. But I get it. You're getting Devontae Adams. On the flip side, like, again, if Fournette's your 3 and you're replacing him with Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, A.J. Dillon, guys like that, then no, stop giving away running backs. That's my biggest issue.
On the flip side, are you really trading Devontae Adams without knowing what the fallout's going to be with Aaron Rodgers? What if he gets a 2-game suspension?
2 games? 1 game? I mean,
whatever it might be. Yeah.
I don't want 3.
Well, there's all
speculation.
He was wearing a mask.
Devontae Adams with Jordan
Love. Yeah.
I don't want that.
It's a hard trade.
And that's fair, but there was talk yesterday that he was wearing masks where you're supposed to wear masks, and that wasn't.
Right.
That's according to the guidelines. So it just comes down to, is the NFL going to?
I'd be surprised if he got suspended. It just doesn't.
Yeah,
it seems like too many people knew for him to then ultimately get suspended for this. Like the NFL would sort of be admitting, like, we screwed up. We knew too much and didn't do anything about it. So I don't think that's going to ultimately happen. All right, we got to go quick here, guys, as we wrap up the show. Raiders and Giants, Bryan Edwards as the wide receiver 1. Jake, you're on board here?
100% upside. He has top 25 upside the rest of the way. He was already pushing only behind Waller, and then the next week only behind Moreau. I keep saying this. And snaps, opportunities, everything with this situation now. They're both reliable. This week, though, the Giants keep everything in front of them. They allow a lot of receptions and a high reception rate and yards because of it build up. So I would actually like Renfro this week. But for Edwards, for the ceiling, top 25 potential the rest of the way.
Yeah, I spent a decent amount of fab cash this week on Bryan Edwards. I'm with you.
Definitely feels like this could be a big second half of the year for him. We already saw with Gruden out and Bisaccia in, we already saw his role start to grow a little bit. Would either of you care to make the Kadarius Toney case?
There's back-to-back weeks. We've seen 2 games of Kadarius Toney, which, that's the case. The case is a healthy Kadarius Toney, a Sterling Shepard who can never stay.
No Sterling Shepard. That's what it comes down
to. when Sterling Shepard's out, if Kadarius Toney's in, we've seen that play out, and it's a beautiful thing. So that's what the case is right there. And if
Daniel Jones loves his safety valve, and it's Shepard and Toney.
Yep, and we've seen it.
If the stars align for Toney in that way again, then you just got to feel good about it.
All right, guys, I want to jump to Dolphins and Texans. We've already heard the big love case for Devontae Parker. So let's look at a couple of other guys in this. Can you make a good trade case for either Brandon Cooks or Myles Gaskin right now?
And Brandon Cooks, absolutely. We talked everybody into drafting Brandon Cooks, and he was going as a fringe wide receiver 3 or 4, and now he's putting up wide receiver 2 numbers. And people are like, what's wrong with Brandon Cooks? Nothing's wrong with Brandon Cooks. If he was double-digit points every single game, he'd be Cooper Kupp. Like, let's relax and realize who Brandon Cooks is. Myles Gaskin, however, I would actually sell just because I just don't believe in the consistent volume. Like, this week looks great because of the matchup, but it could be the Savon Ahmed game because they use him more when they're up, and they run more with Ahmed than they do with Gaskin. So I still like Gaskin, but I think the perception is that he's already back to being top 20, and if that's the case, I would sell. Checking the schedule?
There's a couple. There's 3 New York matchups in the next 6, not to mention this Houston one. So there's 4 good matchups in the next 6. I like Myles Gaskin because now that Malcolm Brown's out, we've seen the volume. That's 27 carries in the last 2 weeks. Plus, we know. So right now, it's game script.
I would love if I could count on it.
Yeah, well, I think right now without Malcolm Brown, you complained about Malcolm Brown all year long being the foil, and now he's out of the picture, and now he's.
I said Malcolm Brown and Ahmed. What I said at the beginning of the season was Gaskin gets 50.
Everybody has 2 backs that are in play now. Like that's the norm. We're to the normalcy point with this Dolphins backfield, and we know he's game script agnostic.
I just don't trust Brian Flores. Everybody trusted him heading into the season. There's like Brian Flores loves a bell cow. Now he's Bill Belichick. Where he came from.
Speaking of Bill Belichick, Patriots and Panthers this week. What's the PJ Walker effect, Jake, on this Carolina offense if he does end up getting the start?
So that's what it is. Here, that's it.
Four for 13 is our context right now.
No. To be honest, that Giants defense was getting after everybody in that game. That's why Sam Darnold got knocked out in that game, where he went, what was it, 0 for whatever that we're including into that sample, Funston. So, Sam Darnold's out there. I still feel okay about DJ Moore, but PJ Walker, and I'm not saying Darnold's definitively better than Walker. So,
right.
But we've also seen some terrible quarterback performance so far from Walker. So I would say Moore being a fringe wide receiver 1 right now, until with Walker maybe now wide receiver 2. The biggest thing is that I think Christian McCaffrey again is the biggest effect on this offense.
Yeah, it all changes when CMC's back, and we're not going to see him back this week, unfortunately.
On the other side of this game, really quick, we don't really have time to talk about it. Plus, we touched on it earlier. Just want to mention we've got a comment here from Johannes. Johannes says, Jacoby's going to get a touchdown this week, Jake. So just, this is the week.
That's not happening.
Check back in next week, Johannes, or whatever. Like Jay says, you can always predict it, and no one's going to remember that you predicted it and didn't get it right, which just gets washed away. It becomes water under the bridge. But, own up to it next week.
Here is our last game of the week, and it is the last game of the week, Monday Night Football, Bears and Steelers. First of all, got a little fun fact for you guys that was tweeted out by a Bears beat writer earlier today. The Steelers have won 19 straight Monday night home games, which doesn't actually mean anything, just sort of interesting. Just an interesting fact. They've got another one here. I want to bring it back to a question we asked earlier when we were talking about Jets and Colts, the first game of the week. This one, the last game of the week. Is there anyone, Brandon, you can make a case for? Anyone off the radar? We know the Steelers receivers, Najee, Khalil Herbert, they're starting. Is there anyone else in this game you want to make a case for being in fantasy lineups?
Got to be Pat Fryermuth, right? That's the guy you can
Absolutely.
make a case
Air Fryermuth. Get it right.
Air Fryermuth.
That.
Look at Juju goes out. He goes 7 targets. Eric Ebron was out too in the last one. That helps. But honestly, I think given the way that Roethlisberger's kind of turned to him the last couple of weeks, I think even with Ebron back, who has all of 7 catches all year long, I just think they're ready. They drafted this guy in the 2nd round. He's their future at the tight end, and he's playing well now. I don't see how Eric Ebron comes in and messes with that a whole lot at this point. So I feel pretty confident about Fryermuth continuing and kind of filling in that short area role that Juju left a huge vacancy for.
Yep. That's what really all comes down to is if I don't know who else you would even want to use in this game. You mentioned all the names.
Yeah, exactly.
Are you guys big air fryer guys?
I've never used one.
The actual machines, which are really toaster ovens that you just slap the label on to make them resell now.
Look at this guy.
They're so much better than toaster ovens.
The youngest curmudgeon.
No, they're not, because they are toaster ovens.
No, they're not. They move the air differently, man.
They are toaster. Go look up what a toaster oven is. Its convection is circulating heated air. They are 100% toaster ovens.
Put cut up potatoes in a toaster oven for like 12 minutes that are raw and see what you get in that versus an air fryer. I'll just tell you.
You don't put that's the same amount of time.
Funston, we got to get the youngest curmudgeon nickname to catch on.
Yes, the youngest curmudgeon. I like that.
All right, guys.
I don't have. I'm just like, don't slap a name on something. Pretend it's something different just because it's a hot. It's healthy. Sounds healthy. Air fryer, which is not even a really thing. You can't air fry anything anyway.
Slap a Monday fantasy headline on us, Jake, and then we can get out of here.
Pat Convection Oven Muth. I like it. Thank you, Jiggles.
What do you got? What do you got here, Funston?
Gosh, I got nothing.
What are we slapping on the show?
A Monday fantasy headline. What are we all going to be talking about?
Script.
The three of us get together on Monday. What are we going to be? What am I going to put at the top of the show?
How about Taysom Hill is back to his QB1 ways? Here
we go.
He is who we thought he was. There you go.
I was going to go in that same game. I was going to say Sean Payton, us again. He does it to us again. It's going to be Trevor Siemian for half the game and screw up everything.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Actually, I'll stick in that game. Mark Ingram, back to being startable.
Oh, man. Now that would be a fantasy headline. And if you don't get out of a show on top of on Mark Ingram, on a Mark Ingram note, I don't know what you do. So we're going to wrap things up there on
He's
this
the new
episode of
Tony
the Athletic
Pollard.
Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you. I don't even know what the young curmudgeon said, but I'm just going to move on. I'm just going to end the show. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. YouTubers, we love you. Thanks for being here on the podcast. We love you too. Thanks for listening to us as well. Thursday Night Football. Everything kicks off tonight. Good luck if you've got something in it. For Jake, for Brandon, I'm Beller. W time starts tonight. Let's go get it. See you later, guys.